What if it's not about choosing our battles? What if it's about something else? Today on the PeopleNova Podcast, we chat about that something else. Perhaps it's about choosing how to manage de-energizing conversations. We chat with a female founder building a technology platform while not losing sight of the deeply human interaction. We formulate a recipe for navigating discussions that drain our energy level and how to recoup that energy so our leadership has a positive ripple effect. Let's tune into the conversation with Thuli Hlongwane. Hi, Thuli.
Hello, Rachel, and hello to your listeners, and thank you very much for having me.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. Thuli, can you give a quick overview of the business that you're running?
My business is based on a platform for on-demand services for beauty service providers. We connecting them with tech-savvy customers to offer their services from their locations. And obviously now with the COVID-19 scenarios, we're also anticipating that we're going to be rolling out a lot of virtual services to meet the demands.
That's great. And also let our listeners know you're based in Cape Town, South Africa.
Absolutely correct. I am in Cape Town, sunny South Africa.
So one of the things that we like to chat about in the podcast is, especially with the shift to remote and living online now in efforts to help mitigate the COVID virus that's going around the world, we're realizing that it's not so much, we're not doing business with other businesses, we're really doing business with other humans, and the humanity side of working together and really understanding who your business partners are, who your clients are, who your customer groups are. When you hear the phrase, human to human, or we do business with other humans, what does that mean to you?
As much as my business comes from a technology side, we still work with human beings. And one of the nice things that I like about the situation right now is the ethics that we need to bring together with technology so that we advance the human beings. So exactly what you said right now, because somehow we will still carry on working with people, but at the same time, we are advancing the technologies for us to service them better. So that is exactly where I see a great connection, that whatever we do, we're still working with people, and we still need to bring that element of accepting human beings as they are, respecting their privacy, respecting their space, and at the same time advancing with the times, because that is not going to change.
It is about the humans in our world, right? Whether they're our client base, we really have to think about them, but also our colleagues and our clients. And you had a very successful career before you launched this. During that time, are there any stories where you've really helped to identify other people's kind of strengths or superpowers and help guide them along?
Yes, Rachel. So my background comes from a leadership environment. So I started technology and I used to manage teams. And in managing teams, I was fortunate to also be part of a program with one of our largest universities in Africa called the UCT. And the postgrad degree that I did with them was in management practices. And what it taught me was exactly that element, that whatever you do working with human beings, you have to sort of apply your intuition into how you interact, how you behave, how you respond to other human beings, which is exactly what we're talking about now. So the working environment will not be the same if we don't apply those principles, if we don't apply those values. So we need to stay in touch and know that you're just not working with objects, you're working with human beings, and stay connected.
I like to tell leaders that I'm coaching, people are not algorithms. Like there's no formula. so there's no shortcut. I can't tell you to like add 1 part love and 2 parts, feedback, and you get a magic relationship. Like there's no algorithm, right? How have you helped kind of, is there a moment of self-awareness that has served you in this, or an aha moment?
Yes, absolutely. Because you know the work that I'm doing now, the reason I'm still excited and I'm still positive about everything that is happening is the opportunities. So if you start thinking about the opportunity for the person who is right now hopeless, if I can put it that way.
Sure.
And that person does not know how to start a business. That person does not know how to acquire customers. And we providing these entrepreneurs on our platform an opportunity to, I'll call it, reinvent themselves, because then take the skills that you have, use the technology, because we are an enabler to that, and then plan your future, and then do the things that you want to do in life, but at the same time have the support. So all I'm imagining at this point in time is those people that will have those opportunities, those people that cannot do certain things at this point in time, but have the potential of growing, building their businesses. So that is one exciting thing that I actually just wake up every morning and thinking, we're doing this.
Oh my gosh. I feel like those nesting dolls, right? Like, here I am, I've been working with you to help build your business, where you're helping other people to build their business. Like, it's so meta. This is great.
It is true, Rachel. And people underestimate the value they have in other people's lives. Me working with you, or the time that we spend together, it might have been, I don't know, hours. But out of those hours, there is just something that, when the pin drops and you're actually thinking, okay, this is going in the right direction. And no, it's not going in the right direction. Let's change this. But the goal, this is where you realize, because, when I met you, the program that we worked on had an impact on the social development goals. And those goals might have been set and agreed at some point in time. But if you start aligning what we are all working towards, it just feels so good, because you know that I'm not the only one. I'm working with other people, and we planning to do this on this planet. And that really is what excites me.
Oh my gosh, you are amazing. I get so much energy just from this chat. I'm hoping our listeners do too, right? I think in this day and age, we definitely need some inspiration, some opportunity to say, you know what, life is uncertain, right? Aside from the normalcy of startup uncertainty, like, we're going through this global shift, health concerns, economic concerns, right? But there are opportunities. I like the way that you framed that, right? There is an opportunity to really reflect on, what is it? How am I serving the world? And how am I helping? And I like to coach people that sometimes serving the rest of the world, or our family, or our friends, starts with self-care. And we have to take the moment to understand kind of where we are and where we orient, what's concerning us, before we can help serve, other people.
Yep, absolutely. And, I don't know whether it's because of the situation that we find ourselves in, that we start realizing that somehow, let's do something that will create some positivity in the environment. Yeah. And you don't know, the whole story about the dropping the stone, water, and the waves that are created in doing that.
Yeah, the ripple effect.
Exactly, because then it might be just the ones that you're seeing, small as they are, but you don't know how wide their impact is. Yeah. So it's just a matter of throw it in and hope for the best and do the best that you can do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is great. So, so let's do that ripple, right? One of the other questions I like to ask folks is, what's your next milestone? I like to put our intentions into the universe. Maybe one of our listeners hears your intention, here's your milestone, and is like, oh my gosh, I have to go find Thuli. So what's your next milestone? What are you working on? What can our community help you with?
Where I'm at right now is at the point where I've sort of planned everything that is required. I know what I need. And when I started my business, I gave up my own pension contributions. I know they always say that it's very unwise to do that. And that's how I started my business, because I realized that I have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the platform is ready. From a technology point of view, I'm very comfortable. But if you start thinking about this whole thing, there is a need for me to roll it out. So mm-hmm. It's the scaling of the business. It's for me being able to get all the support and the skills on board. I can have my own thoughts, but unless I get people that are working with me to turn them into reality, then it makes it very difficult. So I still need skills on the marketing side, mainly the funding for me to market and drive this into the market. And also, if I can just maybe briefly explain the situation in South Africa. Yeah. Is that a lot of people, they struggle to get themselves to school, high school, and maybe the ones that can afford to go to university, then they get to university. But it is very difficult when that person starts thinking about starting their own company. Now, we are saying that you've done your training or you already have a job as a mobile spa owner, but they don't have the facilities. So they don't have the equipment, and transport also is a challenge. So mm-hmm. It's for me to find a structure and put it in place where we can fully support these individuals so that they can start running their business and turn them into profitable businesses at a mm-hmm. later stage. So those are the type of things that I need, because it's more around the marketing for us to be able to scale and grow the company.
Great. So the platform, do you have a prototype of the platform? Is there a website?
Yes, our website is www.Prim-U, and Prim, like Prim for proper, P-R-I-M, Prim-U.com. And on social media platforms, we are also Prim_U app. And yes, we are ready to engage at any point in time. And we are accepting all the help that we can get.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I will make sure to put a link to all your social media with the podcast, so folks can go check out the website, and I'm sure there's a contact page where they can get hold of you, or you can click on me and I will make sure to put you in contact with Thuli for certain. We like
That'll be lovely. That'll be lovely, Rachel. I know we can get this and we can work together and have something really successful. One day we'll write a story and say, this is where we started.
This is it. Everyone has an origin story, whether you know it started today or not. Good. Awesome. Oh, fantastic. So one of the other questions that I like to ask people is, what is your favorite art?
Okay, so let me tell you about it. It's a village. And in that village, you will see the women who are natures and the child that is supported by the woman, and the food that the woman is getting for the family.
Yeah.
If you ask me, it's about the role that we play as females in supporting, nurturing, and bringing up our kids. So art for me is how you position that, how you display it. And if I look at that picture, every time I normally think that child is probably hungry, but the mother is providing for the child. So it's that support system that you're getting where you're saying you're raising a child and you're supporting the community. And those are the values that we need to follow as human beings.
Mm-hmm. It is. Humans are a connected, species. Like, we need connection, right? And we can't be physical connected unless we're with family, right? But this digital connection, like, these are still avenues and these are still options to find that connection. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Art is incredibly important in my world. And I love this conversation because I get to chat with my favorite people and I get to learn new art and new perspectives.
Absolutely, Rachel, because if we don't start building the communities that we want, then we're not going to get the right outcomes. And for me, a community is how you mother. And when I'm saying mother, I don't mean you must be a female, right, but it's anybody that is protecting everyone around you, mm-hmm, and supporting them. Because like I said, that you asked me about my favorite art, it's a child being supported. So somebody needs to carry you along the way. Yeah. Somebody needs to guide you to a point where they can let go and allow you to be yourself.
In the startup space, we always talk about it's an ecosystem and it's a community and we're connected. You may be running your business, but there's a lot of advisors and mentors and guidance and sometimes too much. But it really is about a community, right? As opposed to the one, founder who, I'm going to do it myself because this is amazing technology. Like, just time and again, we hear those stories that those are not successful stories.
It gets lonely out there. You need others to support you. I cannot stress that you can never have more than enough information, because you will always learn something. You might have had somebody saying the same thing, but then hearing it differently from a different person changes the perspective sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy that, and my business is around that I take individuals that are independent, because they are all independent entrepreneurs, but then we're giving them a sense of community. So it's bringing them together, and we're also providing them opportunities to learn and grow. Because yes, I want to run my own business and I want to provide massages, but things do change and things do advance. And unless you are in a community, you don't get the right support. Mm-hmm. So we are definitely saying that we're bringing those communities together and supporting each other. And like you're saying, is that I cannot operate without all the people that I talk to on a daily basis. I'll go mad. I like talking to people. I like engaging with people. And yes, ultimately, I have to make decisions. But unless I speak to people, my energy levels are going the other way.
Yes, fun disclosure, I am an introvert. And when people learn that about me, they're like, oh my gosh, you can't be, you're so outgoing. And I'm like, oh, that's different. I'm not shy, but I'm definitely an introvert. And there are moments where I just want to close the computer and just like, I don't know, but like put a hoodie on and just crawl into myself.
Talk to yourself. It helps. It helps a lot.
But it took a lot of self-awareness, right? Just to circle back to that. Like, I needed to understand what made me successful, as opposed to, you know, another person who could be an extrovert needs a lot of Zoom parties and like group calls and group chats, right? To really help them process. And I like to say simply, you know, if you're an extrovert, you just need your mouth to move in order for your brain to function, which is okay. Some people need that. I need my mouth closed for my brain to function.
Listen, yes. No, but I mean, you need to have both though, because at some point in time you have to listen, and at some point in time you have to talk. But like you said, self-awareness, because you need to know when to do that. Mm-hmm. So what is the right time? Because I can't be talking all the time. Otherwise, I'm not going to hear other people, and I'm not going to learn from other people. So it's adjusting as you go along, having those moments where you're listening, or the moments where you're talking. And it's self-awareness. You said it right the first time.
Yeah, I like, and I keep going back to it because I think it is so important. And I also kind of coach folks that self-awareness is a lifelong journey. It's not that, you know, when you hit, you know, the magic 30s, you know, you're immediately like understanding and you're self-aware and like, that's it, check the box, move on. Like, I feel as a human, I'm constantly learning about myself, learning how I interact with the rest of the universe, you know, and, you know, some things were successful. And I definitely had moments that were not successful. I will admit, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
You show me one person who can say on this planet, don't need anything. I'm the most perfect human being. That person, I will tell you, there's something wrong about that person. Otherwise, yeah.
Well, I think that's a lot where kind of that emotional, like, either the imposter syndrome comes from, or that, you know, self-criticism of why don't I know how to do this better? And I, you know, when I build those relationships with people, I'm like, you know what, just let that go. It's not serving you. It's causing you more anger, anxiety, like uncertainty that we're all learning. We're all figuring it out. I think one of the most reassuring things during this time of transition and pandemic, when it was really, really early, at least in the States, and we were trying to like sort out, and, you know, information was changing on a daily basis. You know, I would watch webinars with VCs who've been in the space for a long time, and legit on a group call with VCs, they would come out and be like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing. We're making this shit up every day. Like, everything is changing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're like, you're the pinnacle. You're so successful and you don't know what you're doing. Oh, okay, cool. This is okay. We can do this.
And that's how they succeed, because self-awareness comes with self-evaluation. So you evaluate the things that you do on daily basis, and you check the outcomes. And if it's working, you do more of or less of.
Great.
But then at the same time, you are adjusting your journey. And, you know, I was just reading it earlier on, that somehow as you move along in life, it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
So you get, you know, as long as you stay on your path, and then you swerve from left to right, but still moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do as human beings.
Yes, life is rarely linear. We may age in a linear fashion, but the rest of it is just non-linear. And I think, I think a big takeaway is the sooner you make friends with that, you know, the less anxiety, hopefully.
No, that's true, because you live a better life, because you learn to accept a lot of things. You know the phrase that says, learn to accept the things you can't change. And, you know, so it actually means a lot to me, because you start understanding in life that there are things that you can adjust and change, and there are things that you can't change. And somehow you need to get to the point of accepting that and move on.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you stay depressed.
Right. And some of that anxiety, I'll speak first person, some of my anxiety and like frustrations came from, you know, trying to change another person, right? Like, oh, you can't do that. You need to do this. You need to do this. So like, don't do that. Or like, oh my God, that's going to create havoc, right? Realizing that's not successful either, right? Like, you can't control what a client is going to do, how they interface with your website, you know, the snarky comments that they may put on your social media, right? You can't control that, but you can choose how you respond. You can choose to, you know, either accept them as a troll or say, well, maybe there's something there, right? Like, let me separate, you know, my ego from, you know, their feedback or their criticism, and let me see if there's something there, if there's a grain of or grit of somethingness to that, you know, let me reflect and see if I can work with that and take away and learn something.
I try that, and I have 3 sons, and they will give you a different picture because they know. There are things that I say every day, and I always say, it's not acceptable in my house. No, you can't do this. And, you know, after some time it will be like, but you know that he doesn't wash his dishes every day. Why must you say it every day? And I'm like, I will say it every day.
Okay, there's some non-negotiables when you live in Thuli's house. Number 1, dishes.
No, those are expectations in life, because those are the things that you're expecting to be done in a certain way. But then, yeah, no, I'm just saying it because I know I do it sometimes.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the things that really matter, the things that worry me, the things that concerns me, I tend to choose the battles that I walk into. Mm-hmm. And I choose the battles that I just need to stay away from.
Yeah.
And that usually becomes a very tough decision sometimes, because you know you want it, but at the same time, you just have to hold yourself from it.
Yeah, let's stay with that for a minute, because choosing your battles, like I early in my career, like I heard that and I'm like, okay, that's like a key phrase, or like, that's just some jargon or everything. Like it didn't really sit with me. Like I heard it, my brain knew it, but like my heart didn't, right? Circle back to empathy. Empathy is so important. How did you get to that moment of like, okay, this is how I choose my battles? Or like, how do you know when you're in that moment of like, this is not a battle I should choose?
It is when you start feeling pain in your body. And when I say pain, I don't mean physical pain. It is when you feel like you are not in your own body and you start feeling sick. And not, like I say, it's not physical. So I'm not going to say you start having headaches or your arms sore or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you start feeling that I'm not myself. I'm not in my body. And when you start looking at the reasons behind it, then you have to go back and evaluate those reasons and evaluate whether they're still practical or not. Because if I am in a situation, and like we said earlier on, in life, you don't go straight, but you have those curves. So, you know, I like this thing that says we are in this very wide maze where we find ourselves having to choose paths on daily basis, and crossroads are almost everywhere. And when you get to that crossroad, you have to make a decision. And when you make the decision, make sure you make the right decision, because sometimes we force ourselves and we say, I know the right decision is to go right, but I'm just going to go left because that's where I need to get to, forgetting that you can actually go right, and somewhere down the line, you're going to find a curve that will take you to where you needed to go to. Yeah. But we force ourselves because we're telling ourselves that I know I'm going that direction.
I'm going to be stubborn and go there. Oh yeah, that was me.
you find out that you actually can't go beyond, and you get stuck in that corner and you cry and you do all sorts of things instead of just then going this other route and then trying to navigate still your way around it to still get to where you wanted to get to.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
So it makes it very difficult in life because it's not clear. So you can't say, I know I need to do this. And I don't know, maybe it's just me because I don't have those moments. And I do have sometimes situations where I have to think about a decision, and I have to think hard and long before making the decision. But again, you can't say you are guaranteed that you're making the right decisions. But you will find that in life, most of the time, if you listen to your inner self, you go through the pain, and you will find that when you look back, most of the time, you know when you made the right decisions. And we started about that where you were talking about self-awareness. And you know yourself. So if you know that you succeed because you're always telling people the right things, and you always stick to your values, and you always say things in an honest manner, then next time you come across the crossroads and you have to make a decision, apply those principles, because then you don't have anything to regret. You know, I always say, when I go to sleep, I go with nobody else except myself. So if I can't be true and honest to myself, I'm not going to be able to have a good sleep. So the best thing for me to do is then to say, I need to make a decision. What is it that I'm comfortable with, and make my decision based on that. And every time I evaluate a decision that I'm about to make, apply the same principles. So for some people, I don't know whether it's the same principles or not, but go back to whatever principles that you've applied previously and they've worked for you, and apply them again. And then you will find that things are just moving forward.
I could listen to you forever. This is fantastic, right? Because I think sometimes people get distracted, dare I say, influenced by influencers, right? Like they'll read a leadership book and they'll be like, oh my God, Steve Jobs is an amazing leader. I'll be like, well, he was the only Steve Jobs. And I think you should be your own leader, right? Thuli is never going to be Steve Jobs. Thuli is going to be the best leader that Thuli can be, right? And it's hard, I think, sometimes to not be distracted and not be influenced, especially when, oh, well, you know, my peer, you know, walked into a VC's office, or I watched the Facebook movie and he showed up in a hoodie and pajamas and demanded this, and look at him and he was so successful. And I think sometimes that comparison doesn't serve us well, right? It doesn't help us really understand who our genuine self is. And time and again, like how we're different, how we're quirky. I say humans are wonky, how I'm wonky, right? Is the best version of ourselves.
It's true. It's so true, because that's how the universe works. You might succeed and achieve what you want, but like you're saying, you know, there's this saying that you have 5 fingers, 1 hand. They all look different, but they all serve a purpose.
Yeah.
So you have a purpose, whether your purpose is to lift smaller things or bigger things, it doesn't matter. You still have a purpose in life. So follow your purpose. Don't try and be like the big brother or the small sister. So you have to follow your purpose and fit in wherever way you are.
All right, this is the hard question. How can people kind of reveal their inner purpose? I know folks struggle with that a lot. And, you know, we'll get back to the imposter syndrome. Like, I I don't have a purpose, or I don't know what my purpose is, or what should be my next career move. Maybe you're not going to start a business. You know, I do a lot of career coaching as well. And people are like, I don't know, I'm not really motivated, or I'm not engaged. How do people uncover, and I'll say uncover, their inner purpose?
By being authentic, by being yourself. I can never, you know, like we said earlier on, that if you try and be like somebody else, you're missing the whole idea of why you exist on this planet as Rachel.
Yeah.
Because you are supposed to be doing whatever that you're doing, and if you're good at it, then try and do more of that. And if you find that you're not good at good of it, then do less. And it's being authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you find that you go through life much easier when you are true to yourself.
Yeah.
And the journey is not as hectic as when you try and be somebody. I mean, for me, one of the things I will use as an example is I like being myself and I like being simple. So imagine me if I had to try and wake up every day and be this glamorous person and do all these things that I know that I'm not really enjoying, but I'm just doing it because I'm trying to be like, I'm not going to mention names, but I'm trying to be like somebody else.
Right.
That would absolutely not work for me. So, and sometimes I have to do it because you have to do certain things in life. But when I do it, I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm doing it because of this short-term situation. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to be doing on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So I then stick to that.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Personal sharing.
Yes.
Can I tell you, I'm so happy when I gave up wearing high heel shoes. Oh my God, that was the worst.
The pain.
The pain. I was like, forget this. Life's too short. I cannot and I know some women look beautiful in some men look beautiful in high heel shoes. I'm just like, I can't.
But then, I mean, on certain days, if you know that you have to do it for a short period, you do it.
I do. And I look great and I feel great. And then I can go back to being comfortable.
And that's exactly about everything else in life. Because then take your example of high-heeled shoes. You know, sometimes I used to say, working more especially in a corporate environment, you know there are people that you don't like talking to.
Yeah.
And you know that you don't get the energy that you usually get when you speak to other people. Yeah. But because we are working together and we have to achieve the same goal. So you speak to those people, but then you still know that I'm not happy, but then you find the best ways of controlling yourself, positioning your statement such that you get to the point, you say what you need to say, and then you move on. And you know why? The same example with your shoes. You know that that shoe is not going to stay there forever. You know that by the time you go to sleep, you're going to kick it off. So you do exactly the same thing. You go into a conversation and you know that I'm going to speak to this person and I'm just going to pretend that both of us are okay and then get over it. And that's how you then adjust and do certain things. Because in my career, I had to handle a lot of situations that I was not comfortable with. Yeah. But if you position yourself for the duration of the discussion and know that I have to say something and I have to say it as honest as possible. Because that's the other thing, that you're not going to go and say things that you really don't want to say just because you are now trying to protect the other person and protecting yourself in the process. So it's those kind of situations. And we have to get to the point where we love one another on this planet. So whether it's painful, that just for that 15 minutes that you're spending with a person that you know that your energy levels are not necessarily together,
Yeah.
But you know that you can do it. And when you come out of it, you know that you're not going to be hurt. The high-heeled shoes, they'll be sore for a short period, but when you take them off, you go back to your normal self, and you're okay.
Oh my God. Such a great parallel. It's transferable skills. It totally is. And I love that you point on, sometimes we have these conversations that energize us, right? This conversation is so energizing. I love it. I could talk forever. This is great. Our poor listeners, but it's okay. And then there's some conversations where it's draining, right? Whether the topic is draining, whether there's a lot of anxiety going into the conversation, or the person, approaches the conversation differently. I don't know, but like, I know that too. Like there are some conversations that I go into that I'm like, oh, like either I'm mentally like head game, like telling myself, or like I walk away from it being like, oh, that was weird. I don't know what just happened, right? Knowing how the energy dynamic works between, me, like first I got to get my energy at a place. I got to self-care, right? I got to make sure that my energy levels are protected before I can fully show up and be in another energetic conversation with another person, or, perhaps sometimes it happens, a de-energizing conversation. And you figure out how to go back and fill your cup of energy, right? And protect that. And then you move on to the next battle. Boom, there we go, bringing it around.
And it's because, situations, they don't last forever. Yeah. So if you find yourself stuck with this person, if you have to spend the next 2 hours with this person, you need to find a way of surviving. And that is all in your mind. You are 100% in control of yourself. And as long as you know that that's not going to be something that you subject yourself to every day, 10 hours a day, then you will be fine. Because it's knowing when to switch or pull certain levers at certain times. Yeah. So you do exactly that. Yeah. And which is why I think, like you said, you get to a point in life where you start understanding these things. And right now, I always think that there is no situation that I cannot survive. As long as there is air to breathe, I will be able to survive. It's only when I'm suffocating where I will not survive. But I will be able to engage with anybody on this planet, and I will be able to survive. So it might be a very difficult discussion, or it might be an easy one, talking to a person like Rachel, which gives me energy, which makes me happy, makes me excited. But it's all being true to yourself and just going through it and knowing that it's not going to be there forever. The situation we're facing in the world right now is not going to last. So what does it mean? Go through the situation, be as happy as you can be, and try do your level best.
Words of wisdom from Thuli. I love this. Thuli, thank you so much for joining us. We've taken up a lot of your time. I really, really appreciate it. We will put links to Thuli's website, Prim-U, and her social media so that folks, if you're interested in helping Thuli's mission, I love her. She's fantastic. Go ahead and click and find her and share and support. This has been wonderful. Thuli, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you very much for having me. And I'm hoping for the best. Together, we can move forward and make a change in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thuli. Take care.
Thanks, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the PeopleNova Podcast. My name is Rachel O'Neill. The team here at PeopleNova Human Capital would love to hear from you. We are always curious to hear from our listeners. So go ahead and send us an email, podcast@peoplenovahc.com, with your workplace questions or suggestions for who you'd like to see on our show. If you send us an audio memo, we may include your question on the show. Lastly, we are here to amplify. Our guests are amazing entrepreneurs, and we want you to forward our newsletter to someone in your network who needs to know the amazing things our guests are doing, so together we can make an impact. Thank you so much. Take care, and we will see you next time.